on a hit so people know who you are, you get noticed, and then you can have a career. If you don't get noticed and make enough money, you'll change careers. Because I know a lot of my favorite friends that are better than me that are starving and working at Walmart, you know, and go, man, I don't know why nobody doesn't like me. You know, I said, I don't either. My dad was an evangelist, so I was taught well how to pull people in.
I just want to jump off there for a second. I agree with everything you said, but also there's the other side. At this point, the music business has completely changed. Major labels don't hunt talent. They react to talent. They find you when you have certain YouTube streams and Spotify streams. And the investment to break you is unbelievably expensive. Unbelievably expensive and competitive. So they hire these people like Max Martin, whatever, and they get 20 other people because they're trying to ensure a hit. I would also agree with you, as opposed to 7 or 8, which is a great record, that they strip a lot of the humanity out of it, but that's what competition has evolved into. I believe there's something over here, but I don't respond to anybody I don't know anymore, because 10% of the public is insane and you don't know which 10% it is. And I can tell you a lot of bad experiences. But when I used to respond, you would say, okay, you know, the record's not a hit. And they say, what about the lyrics? You know, I think the lyrics are pretty good. What about Bob Dylan? And no, I said, but the voice was bad. And I said, well, what, Bob Dylan didn't have that good a voice. And they go, yeah, but he was the best lyricist of all time. So the competition is incredibly heavy. Just going one step further, what do we know in America? We have income inequality. We have the rich and the poor. That is what is happening in the music business, and it's only going to get worse. Good is not good enough. It has to be great. We don't live in regional markets. Everybody in the world can listen to all music. That's how Despacito became a huge hit. Biggest hit of the year other than Ed Sheeran. Okay? So therefore, if you are not that good, you're gonna starve. That's a very hard thing to say. But do you think you can play in the NBA? There's a couple of hundred players in the NBA. You play good on the court. You think you can play for the Warriors? Probably not.
Well, I want to comment on what, can I say just one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
Is it okay?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I want to comment on what you said. It's the knowing in the very beginning. All that other stuff about the separation, we're listening to two different things. Yes, you got to do that. You got to stay commercial. But it's the knowing. If you walk into a room and you're an A&R guy or a producer, and I have brought you hits, many hits. I've written one song in at a time. I know it's a hit song. You know I know. I give it to you. You cut that song. It becomes a hit. But you know, because sometimes, not you, a lot of people don't know in the music industry. What I'm trying to say is, they don't know.
I couldn't agree more.
They don't fucking know what they're doing. They come out of these colleges, out of Belmont and Vanderbilt and all this shit.
I agree with you.
Now, wait a minute, I don't want to be angry about this, because the new is what brings the new in. It's everything has to change. It can't be Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. It cannot be. Country music needs to evolve. But a lot of people just weren't brought up like we were brought up, as far as being around experience and people that know what they're doing. And you know when somebody comes in with one song speaks volume. I got one song. Give me 3 minutes. You bring that thing in, you knock them out. Bring them to the trough and drink the water.
Well, you're a professional. The problem is, unlike, you know, if you break your leg here, you're not going to walk up to someone and say, hey dude, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. This is my passion. Don't go to the hospital. Let me say your leg. You're fucking nuts. But everybody in the music business is an expert, because the barrier to entry, so people, you're a professional with a great track record. There's some wanker from Belmont says, oh, I know. And you're right, but that's what makes it so difficult.
But at the same time, here's what I'm saying. At the same time, I get that, and maybe I am that, whatever. I just done it a long time and I've learned. But who am I? That's what I'm trying to say. Who am I to say a great song is a great song? That's my strong opinion and what I believe. This song emotionally fucks me up. It sends me. It just kills me, this song.
Well, here's what
happens. And I do as a song plugger.
You bring it in, the A&R department loves it. It's a great song.
What happens? The A&R guy gets fired, your album gets shelved, your record gets shelved, you're done.
But I just want to go one step further. I interviewed Jason Flaw for my podcast, it'll be like 2 weeks, and he made this record with Kid Rock, what an amazing live show. There were 12 people in the audience, and it put out a couple of albums, was nothing. Puts out the album, Devil Without a Cause. Everybody hates it. Everybody. The people at the label, only he and this guy who signed it, Andy Karp, like it. If you know Jason, he's relentless. He took this guy, Louis Largent, who was the programmer for MTV, out on the golf course, said, you gotta listen to this record. It was only one track, and then it ended up selling 10 million. So the power of an individual is important.
I agree. Totally, that's what I was trying to say. And I think, too, just some things that bother me with the business right now is, I had somebody, I'm not going to name names, but at a company that said, you know what, Dale, everything is really bad. Music is not good in country music right now. Everybody's chasing everybody. So what your job is, which is a sad remark, but I don't know, do you hold it true or not? Your job is to find the best out of the bad.
Just different question.
To me,
that's a showstopper. But when someone comes in with a stiff, what do you tell them? Someone comes in with a stiff. Happens all the time. Oh man, I love this record, and you hear it. One of the problems with the business is no one will speak the truth. No one will ever say it sucks. I say, it's really good, but I'm looking for something like this.
Nobody wants to hear the truth.
Exactly.
It's like, tell me the truth. Well, I don't like that song. It's terrible. Get out of my office.
As soon as you say it's terrible, they say, you're wrong. Everybody told me it's great. You don't know what the fuck. You asked me.
Yeah, well, basically, my mom says it's great, my dad says it's great, my best friend says it's my best song ever. Yeah. Well, let's steer this back because the thing is, again, all these people want to know about making a hit record. So rather than the tales of the music business, which is a way fucking longer panel than the Taylor Swift panel, that's a whole fucking week-long seminar. Yeah, but let's talk about what do you do to get around. It's interesting, Bob, you mentioned the labels. I mean, I've been a believer for years, even though I have a lot of friends in labels. Labels are obsolete. I mean, I'm going to brands. Right now, for me, if I teach Grammy Camp, I work with young artists, I tell them, you go to brands. I go to Amex, I go to MasterCard, I go to Red Bull, I go to all these places that are funding young artists and they're funding touring and all of this. So for these guys, rather than put it in like it's doomed and hopeless and impossible, which it may well be, but let's put it again in terms of what do you do to get around all of this? What's the, yes, Dale?
I got one question, yeah. Don't take no for an answer.
Oh, please don't say that.
No, take no for an answer. Well, go around it. If the guy tells you no and he's an A&R person in a job, filling a spot, or whatever, go to Tony Brown. Get your answer from Tony Brown or Tony's artist. I always went in with the confidence, and we did this for a long time. I would call and say, Tony, I got one song or a couple songs. And I would bring the writer with me. And we would sneak into the studio. And Tony would go, okay, what's this? I say, hey, we're just coming in here to say hi. I'd give George Strait a CD, I'd give Tony a CD, I'd leave. The next day, Renee White would call me up on the phone and said, hey, they cut 2 of your songs last night. It was that way. And it was really a cool way. We went around it. We went to the source instead of going through all these loops and stuff like that. And today, maybe you have to go to a manager too.
You're on a very professional level. You're already on the inside. For people on the outside, you have to know when to give up. For the last 20 years, the world's been run by tech. Now we have 4 companies rule that. Now it's all about politics. If you know anything about tech companies, they all pivot. They started as something, they turned into something else. You are a unique individual. I don't want to be all too touchy-feely. Find what you do best. Maybe you don't make it records. So it scares me when I see people who are 50 who are broke, no 401k, etc. Or you get the email from people saying, well, how am I supposed to pay for my car, my house, and my kids? What I always say is, who told you to buy a car, buy a house?
So eventually that is all going to happen. You know there's 4 definitions. Who's Tony, or who's Dale, who's Dale Dodson? I want Dale Dodson. Give me someone that knows what Dale Dodson does. Who the fuck is Dale Dodson?
Okay, there's another category here. And I tell these people who come to me and And I say, look at, you know, for professionally, that's not going to work. But maybe what you want to do is just write for fun. Maybe you just want to write songs. Maybe you want to play songs. Maybe being number one, maybe, you know, is not the biggest thing in your life. Maybe what you do is you really love making music. And so you want to improve as much as you can and make music. You might get lucky as in your journey, but you don't have to be a professional. You might still want to work at Walmart or be a doctor or a chiropractor or something else, but still make music. I have a project coming up. This guy imports steel. He's a multi-millionaire. He also writes classical music. He's written a 3-part concerto. He wants me to orchestrate it. It's fun and it's beautiful, and we're not going to make a lot of money, and I'm not charging him a lot of money, but it's wonderful to do. And so you can do all of these things, but at a different level. Make music at home. Make it for your family. Make it for your friends. And as you make it more and more, you will improve. You know, we're all doing this because we've made money doing it, but we didn't start out that way. At least I didn't. I started out because I love it. And so I encourage you all to not be discouraged by what you're hearing up here on the stage.
However, there are
I guess I'm lucky that I don't get hung up with this since the 80s. I don't get hung up with hit records. I never did that either, but I was just lucky, I think. But you know, make music for yourselves. I mean, write a song that you like. Write songs that you like, and if you really like it, there's a good chance that somebody else will like it too. But don't even worry about that. Just be true to yourselves. You know, because there's no money in it. So why get hung up about all this? Unless you are Taylor Swift or somebody like that, you know? Yeah, just do it because you like it. You like to make music. I mix records that I like to mix. I mean, I don't go by, oh, well, this is going to be a hit record, or that's not going to be a hit record. I just, you know, I really like the guitar riff. I really like what this guy's trying to say, or this girl's trying to do, you know, with her voice. And I have a great time. I have a great life, and I make enough money. I can actually keep food on the table, and it works out pretty well. Maybe I'm lucky that.
But there's a famous phrase in the music business. It's not about the money. It's about the money. And I did do the Folk Alliance where someone said they were grossing $10,000 a year. I said, if you're happy, great. But Tony made a good point. You ain't got the hits, nothing is happening. Just going to your point about the label, everything is in transition. Do not sign with a major label unless you have a song that can get on the radio. That's what they do best. They also have relationships with traditional media and television. If you believe those things will help you, they are going downhill like this. That's what the major labels do. They have relationships. Everybody who went independent ultimately went back to the label because the label has ongoing relationships. Trent Reznor, he was on Interscope, went independent, then went to Sony. The hip-hoppers who are on the bleeding edge, exactly what you're saying. They are now saying, because traditional, the best deal you can write, not really with a major, but somebody like, Glass Note Records would be 50-50, okay, net. Now the hip-hop are saying, well, I have all this stuff, I want more than 50, okay? And they do have those relationships. So if you want to see where it's going, go there. But, I'm very clear, unless you get on the radio, don't sign with a major label, because they're going to take all the rights and do nothing. It's just going to work against you. And if it doesn't hit out of the box, they're not interested.
I'm going to come back and say one thing positively. Do what's in your heart. If you love writing songs, do it because you love it. Write what is true to you. If it fits in the market, fine. If it doesn't, fine. Hey, you know what? George Strait is not selling when Alan Jackson, but when Tony Brown, well, they always sold when you produce George, but I'm just saying is when it doesn't matter. It's still a cut on George Strait. It's still a cut on Alan Jackson. That it's your piece of work that you poured your heart into. that 3-minute song, and you're riding around having a beer and going, wow, I created that. That is magic. Who cares if it sold 50,000 records? If you're happy with the result of having the cut, and it's a big freaking deal to get a song on a major label and a major artist, and to actually, that's an honor. You know? Hey, I tell you what, being on the radio makes money, I get it. But it's not the end all. What fuels me in my song plugging is if I just had to plug songs all the time, I would be pretty aggravated. But me writing songs and getting on artists like Alison Krauss, Leanne Womack, and these kind of records that I wrote, it's up for a Grammy. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
Just to go very quickly, people know, okay? I'll write something and years later, people come up about that track. So if you do something great, assuming you have distribution, and distribution is king, it's supposed to content, because if you can't hear it, it's like it doesn't exist. There is value in that.
2 more questions, and then we're going to turn it over to the audience for a few questions. This is a quick one.
Let Tony talk. Tony said he was on a panel. You have a comment on this?
Well, Tony, you can start this one off.
You didn't weigh in on this.
For each and every one of you, the one artist that you've been around that has the best sense of a hit record, that just understands the concept of a hit record, and who just, and again, it doesn't have to be the most successful, but there's, maybe they've only put out 2 albums, but there are some artists who just freaking get it. You know, so I'm curious for you guys, each and every one of you. Tony, since you need to weigh in, you start. The one artist that you've been around that just best understands the concept of a hit record. They just have a golden touch point.
Reba McEntire. You know, when I started producing her after Jimmy Bowen, the first record I did was Fancy. Oh, she was on that record, and she wanted to cut it with Jimmy Bowen, but he wouldn't cut it because it was about prostitutes. I never knew that. I just thought it was about a girl going to town and making her life better. You know, she just knows the hit song. The only Grammy she has won to this day, is a song we cut a duet with a girl named Linda Davis called "Does He Love You?" And Reba played it, and it's about this chick, a married woman, and the mistress arguing with each other, and says, "Does he love you like he loves me?" And the wife goes, "I have him every night, but sometimes you have him in the day." And I was going, Reba, nobody wants to hear 2 women argue with each other about the same guy. She says, "You're so wrong." And it was the only Grammy she's ever won. But so she understands hit records. So does George Strait too. George never wants to push the envelope and not do what he does best. I think a lot of artists do that. They sort of, you know, there's a saying that says, if you have a #1 record, you have an experience. If you have an audience, you have a career. I mean, Willie Nelson will always be known for Crazy, but you go see him play, you just go to see him because that made him famous. I think a hit record just gives you some sort of notoriety that people go, who is that? What else do they have to say? But I don't think you have to write hits for the rest of your life, but you need one at least to notify people that you exist. That's what a hit does. And then if you're like the Eagles, or you're like any number of artists that just keep having hits after hits after hits, it just makes the career a lot longer. You go from clubs to bigger rooms in arenas and stadiums. So really hits are just about saying, hey, I'm over here. You know, because some of the, there's a genre called Americana, which is basically all the people that were in folk music or pop music, like Robert Plant's there now, doing stuff, Bonnie Raitt's there, and they're happy. You know, but making $10 million a year on making music that's not on the radio is maybe as much fun for them as making $60 million a year that Toby Keith makes being a big country music star. You know, so if you
I got news for you. I've interviewed most of those artists, and it's way more fun.
Yeah,
way more fun.
And it's like, and most artists, I mean, but a hit just gives you a platform. It just gives you a platform. If you can get one hit, take it. And if you can write a bunch of them, you can get really famous and narcissistic. But like Jimmy Webb, to this day, you go see him at the Ryman in Nashville, and you hear him play MacArthur's Park, Phoenix, Wichita Lineman. He's had an incredible career, but he doesn't write hit songs anymore.
Right.
But he gave him a career, And I think he enjoys being Jimmy Webb. He's not Paul McCartney but he's still, he's in that level, you know. I think you just get that level where you're critically admired, you've had success, so people know, you can have bad taste, not work. You can have eclectic taste to the left, really commercial taste to the right, and you can have a career. You just can't have bad taste.
Tony, wait. I just want to ask you about the Americana records. The biggest act in Americana is arguably Jason Isbell. Do you think those are hit records if country would play them?
No.
Because?
They're just not commercial. And that C word, it means a hit. I mean, let's face it. Hits are songs you can sing along with. Most Jim Isbell song, I know his career is like exploding right now. And he packed the Ryman 7 nights in a row, sold out. It's about more than a hit song for him. It's about his performance. It's about his integrity, musical integrity. And he's got a fan base. He just kept building and building.
Well, he knows who he is.
Yeah, he knows who he is.
You know, I agree with you totally. I don't think they're hits.
Hold on, I'm cutting. I love Jason Isbell. I love Drive-By Truckers. But everybody gets a chance to answer. We've only got 10 minutes, and I still want audience questions. So you guys can, after Taylor Swift and after the Ales of the music business, you can conduct a separate seminar on Jason Isbell. Bob, the artist for you that best defines hit success.
All Notes. And, well, the Chic guys. I mean, Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, they were hit masters, I think, in my opinion, for people that I've worked with.
Dale? There's two types of artists. Make it real quick. There is the guy who is the actor that can put themselves in the song and pretend who they want to be or be in that song. And there is the realist. This is who I am. I'll sing this lyric.
So who's that
George
artist?
Strait would be one. Leanne Womack would be another one. Alison Krauss. Alan Jackson writes his own material. I mean, it's hard to name that because they know who they are. They're true to what they grew up with, and they're true to what they do.
Bob.
Artists are the worst. They have no idea what's a hit. I mean, sometimes you're corralled by the promotion man, as Jack says, but they really don't. And in addition, all the lessons you're talking about, I wish you could give seminars to successful artists. Say, hey, you know, it's like the Beatles. They had the first chorus, the bridge. Why do you write like that? Really? It's like, no. They really have no idea.
Jack?
I guess an artist I work with that had a pretty good track record and understood did not really understand what was going to be a hit, but wrote was John Lennon. And an artist that I've worked with that's contemporary, who has a pretty good feel for a hit, is my friend Dion. He goes by the name No ID.
Okay. That's a good one. All right, do we have audience questions? All right, let's hold on. I'm going to try to make this win. I don't see to the mic, so. All right, start here.
Well, I just wanted to comment that this year I'm going to start my own publishing company and my own record label. And the thought of making a hit record never crossed my mind. I have two daughters, they're college bound and they're very creative. I'm very creative musically. The only intention of creating that is to create what I feel is quality music, because I feel that